Hello everybody and welcome to the beginning of what will be a series of tutorials going over the general and finer details of the new game Workers and Resources Soviet Republic in order to help new players understand just exactly what they're dealing with. Developed in Slovakia by 3D Vision Entertainment and releasing just 2 months ago, Workers and Resources Soviet Republic has quickly become one of my favorite games and something I eagerly look forward to seeing updated weekly, it seems. This game places you in the role as a leader of a newly formed Soviet republic. People familiar games like Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe, Open TTD, Transport Fever, Factorio, City Skylines, Hobby Train Tables, they'll always find themselves facing a comfortable yet still challenging kind of transition into the game just because of it's still fresh. It still has some quality of life things that need to come out, some UI difficulties, and some things that just sometimes aren't explained to new players. Nobody said running a Soviet Republic will be easy, and there are plenty of things in the game that make it difficult, but we will be covering all those in this series of videos. So the first video, we're just going to be covering things that you'll encounter very right off the bat, things like the UI, setting up a new game, what exactly you'll be dealing with. So here we are at the title screen. We're going to just go with a new game. You're given two options. You have the blank map and the filled map. We're going to start with the blank map just to keep things simple for now. The overall difficulty pretty much just changes how all these settings are configured. We're going to go ahead and just start with a medium setting. We're going to go over all these. So the money amount, you have the unlimited options, easy, medium, and hard. Unsatisfied citizens reaction, as this game requires that you manage your citizens more than other games like Cities Skylines, Open TTD, and other games where the city kind of builds up around your infrastructure. Your workers are a vital part of the game, and keeping them happy is up to you, as this is a centralized economy. So you are in control of every aspect of your country. Energy management, there are power plants. You can import energy from different areas of the map. There are also things like fuel requirements for vehicles, where you'll have to have gas stations. You can either import fuel or you can generate it or manufacture it yourself. The night and day cycle, this works on I think a 3-day on, 3-day off in-game, kind of the times all work out a little bit weird. Building fires, there's frequent, which is the standard setting for medium, and then there's normal. I like to go with normal. So with the energy management, I'm going to go with buildings plus vehicles. Unsatisfied citizens reactions, we'll keep that at medium. Global events, that is not a feature right now, but that'll be coming soon. Pollution, this means if you have a factory square dab in the middle of your residential district, and they're not going to like that. There's smog, there's noise, all that kind of stuff. The year start, you have 1960 to start out with, going up to 1980. I don't know if there's a hard time limit, so that if you get to 1990, it just stops you, or if you can do the civilization style one more turn and just keep on playing indefinitely. Vehicles availability, you have all or you have lock according to year, so as the years go on you can get those new vehicles similar to those Open TTD Transport Fever type of games, or you can just have everything unlocked right off the bat. Education simulation, so as it says here, children automatically reach basic education, no elementary schools needed for newborn citizens. Parents can work even whilst their children are under 6 years old. That's the simple style. For complex, you need to teach children in a school, and parents of children under age 6 can work only if they can place their children into kindergarten. So those are just two extra buildings that you'll either need to have around some of your residential areas or not. We're going to keep that with complex just to show everything in the game. So we're going to start that game. Loading is pretty fast. Once you've got the game open initially, maybe you open a couple maps. It doesn't take too long. Doing some initializing. Alright, so here we go. We're going to close off this initial menu. And here's a little starting view of our region. You can see it's a very foresty, very mountainous. There's very little kind of big, large, flat land. And right now this is the only map that's available. And one of the things that you'll notice as you're exploring the map are these symbols here on the outsides. So as a newly formed Soviet Republic, you are on the border of the Soviet countries, and also you have the NATO countries. So you are able to import and export from two different types of of governments, and therefore you have two different types of currency. You have your rubles and you have your dollars. And as you're playing, you have the choice of where you export to, where you import from, what kind of vehicles you buy, and you will have these varying amounts of currencies as you play. So we're going to start here, just going off from left to right settings. This opens up stuff like your menus. You can have the game pause while you're alt tabbed or minimize. You have your autosaves. You have how many slots of autosave that you get. Various controls, various sensitivities. Graphical settings. Your resources status. So, one of the big things in the game is resource management, just like OpenTDD. You are doing things like collecting trees from your woodcutters, which you then bring to your lumber mills, which you then cut into boards that you use to construct other buildings. As you're playing, you'll have this ability to view all the resources either within 1,000 meters of where your camera is, 2,000, or you can have it all. And that will list out a big list of the different resources that you have. And you can limit that by trains, vehicles, or buildings, or however you want to configure it. Population statistics. As you're playing, you have your population here. You have productive age workers. You have babies 0 to 6. You have children 7 to 21. And adults 21 still living with parents is a specific thing, because that specific type of person are the one that is able to go to college later. So we'll just go down this list. They have the happiness, satiated, health, government loyalty, alcohol addiction, culture enjoyment, sport enjoyment, religion sympathy, and clothes quality. So there are some of these that you'll not want the bars very filled. Alcohol addiction for one of those. That will decrease as time goes on. You can limit the amount of pubs. You can provide pubs if you want. You have culture enjoyment and sport enjoyment. You have different buildings like soccer fields or tennis courts and things like that. Religion sympathy is something that may not come up if you start up a blank map, because the churches and the religion is only involved on the non-blank start that has cities and roads and churches and old buildings already established on the map. Clothes quality, as you are able to produce or import more clothes, that clothes quality will go up because people are able to replace it more often. Then down here you have more stats. You have the unemployed workers, the average productivity, average lifespan, university education, basic education, and no education. Gives you the breakdown, so you can keep a close eye on that if you have that complex kind of education simulation going, because what can happen is a brain drain, where if you don't have enough educated people to teach your basic educated people, then it's just kind of a slow grind down to zero, where you're dumb and you have to import really expensive foreign experts in order to teach your people back up. The type of electronics that you can have in the game: you can have a radio, television, or a computer, which you can import or you can construct yourselves at your towns or your factories and things like that. Demographics, trends, and times. So this will let you see a graph of how all these statistics are advancing. Next up, we have the infrastructure. This is what allows you to build things like roads, railways, connections between your factories, footpaths, conveyor belts for different types of storage, pipelines for your oil, high voltage and medium voltage wires, which are two different kind of beasts. So we were start the roads. I'll do a separate video going all this over all those kind of specific things. You also have the show wireframe, which lets you see a more detailed view of the map, so you can level and plan your roads and things accordingly, or your railways. You have the auto build option, so as you're getting your resources, you're processing those, you're creating partially construction materials that you will then be able to use and finance your own construction of your own buildings. Or you have these auto build options, where if you have auto build enabled, your roads will build instantly as you're playing. If you do not have that selected, you will create that road. It will create a ghost kind of view, and then down here you can either start your construction with your own construction offices, you can pay rubles, or you can pay dollars to fund that construction. You have your typical kind of terrain construction with terrain forming materials. So you have race terrain, Need a free excavator. So this will come up if you don't have the auto build selected, the auto build option selected, because you can either finance your own terrain modification, or you can finance it directly with your money. And what I mean by that is you could have a construction office, which we will, let's say, auto build from dollars. You can hold the button to level that terrain. And when you build that, that will slowly generate, you have the workers on construction site. This is all stuff we'll go over as well. And then it has these big list of options which shows where it can gather specific materials from, what kind of vehicles it'll have on it. But I'm getting a little bit carried away. So basically what you're allowed to do is you can have an excavator here in your construction offices that then enables you to transform the terrain for free. So now you have your excavator running around there doing all that terrain modification. And that doesn't cost you anything. So on the top right, you can see that nothing is going down now. But if you have the auto build from rubles and you try doing that same thing, it'll cost you money. And as you're starting out, or if you're playing the higher difficulties, you'll see that this can have a really large effect on just how much money that you're spending. Construction, so similar, you have a whole bunch of different options here for the different types of buildings, but we'll go over all those in a separate video. You have the regular terrain modification, you have the creating the city areas, so it'll create a named area for you to reference or for you to use as a reference on the type of buildings that you make. So similar to OpenTTD, it will say Kribozoa Flats Brick, and so that'll help you in your mind space things out. Let's keep it rolling. Economy and trade. So what I mentioned previously with the exporting to other nations is that you are able to take the resources that you make, export them, get money for it, so on and so forth. Use that to finance more construction, to get more money, to get faster money, so to allow you to build more things, get more people. You have the overall screen for how your economy did this year, so you can see if you are importing more than you are exporting, then you can kind of diagnose that and see what you need to do. You can see what exactly you're producing, and you can do that, or you can show that value in resource or in rubles or in dollars. And then it gives you the current prices for each item on the global market. So you can see chemicals, you can get 1,458 per ton, where coal is only 19 per ton. But the amount of coal that you're going to be able to produce is a lot more than the chemicals. And so it kind of balances out there because you'll be sending train loads of the coal, but truckloads of the chemicals. And this will give you a graph down here that shows the price history for these items as well, so you can kind of see what might be increasing in price, see what's decreasing in price, if you want to get that detailed in with your economy. We have a list of vehicles, trains, and buildings. So similarly to the resources list, this shows you the distance from the camera. It can either be 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000, so you can focus on a certain area and identify those vehicles. Or you can do the all map, which will show every building that we have, every train, and every road vehicle. So we have that one excavator right now, which we can open that up and either change the depot he's at, load him onto a truck, which will allow me to transport it somewhere else, or I can follow that vehicle. Last thing over here is the questions and answers, and this is actually very important. It has a ton of details that I'm just going to be repeating most of. There'll be a couple little things that just aren't very intuitive, but for the most part, taking the time to go through this section, read all the important topics, will give you a very firm understanding of the game. So thank you very much for joining me on this first video. The next ones will be covering specific buildings, how to build certain things, layouts, what exactly that factory connection does, what storages do, and going to be building up our city. So thank you very much. Looking forward to joining us on the next one. Goodbye.